Hetepu, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Harun Nefer. This is Qesankh Keperu with another exciting video for you. In this video, we're going to talk about how to destroy fear in your life. But before I get to that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. Also, if you want to know more about my spiritual teachings, you can scroll down below, click on the links, and download a free ebook where you can start reading today. Now, if you want to follow that rabbit down the rabbit hole to get deeper into the well, you can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $1, $5, or $20 per month. It's up to you. You can cancel anytime, and you will get exclusive access to instructional videos on the esoteric, on the spiritual, videos you won't find anywhere else on how to meditate, proper breathing exercises, how to invoke the ancestors, how to put together a magical amulet, how to do a ritual, how to do self-hypnosis to curb overeating, and get your butt to the gym. And last but not least, if you are an Osira level supporter, you'll get all your oracle readings for free, and you'll also get prescribed mantras that will help you in your daily life. So become a Patreon supporter today. Last but not least, share this video with family and friends so we can get the revolution started. So Harun Nefer, how are you? And I want to talk about the idea of fear. Now, I got this lecture that's going on at this university up in New York that I'm going to speak at. And I was kind of thinking, well, what would be appropriate to cover? So the idea of accelerated learning, super learning would probably be a good subject. Or more importantly, what is going on in our world today and how spirituality can save us. And that's when I started to do some inner thinking, some self-reflection about what my mission is, what I'm doing. And I had to take it back to the basics and understanding and saying, you know, I'm really doing something noble. Because when I look around and I see people, especially like things like the women all tattooed up, weird hairstyles and all that, smoking, drinking, cursing, I know that my mission is just. I know that I'm on the right path because we have a society that is, the society is experts at social engineering. And we tend to regurgitate information, we'll take it in, regurgitate it, and justify our own insanity. Because what we're doing is a violation of Ma'at. And it's not just some strict religious or moral code. It's not being in alignment with what is true. You see, if I am smoking and I say, well, it's my right to smoke, but I know secondhand smoke can be detrimental to you, then I'm not thinking about the whole, which is holistic thinking, right brain thinking. And that's a problem. And our ancestors, that's the way they thought. They thought holistically, how what you're doing affects everything, even in the universe, far regions in the universe. We've got to get back to that train of thought, that thinking process, so we can live on this planet in harmony, because those who are in control want us to live, as the Egyptians said, isfit, disharmony, chaos. This is what they embrace. You understand? And what they're doing, whether you realize it or not, and it's done exclusively, well, I shouldn't say exclusively, that's not the correct, but we can say a lot of effort has been put into the music and film industry, specifically rap music, which has become very satanic. The focusing on materialism, women, money, power, lust. And it's going in the direction of switching the genders, emasculating males. So they're taking it far at a very, very quick pace because they have a plan and they're enacting that plan. But the goal is not just because hip hop is a way to influence both white and black youth. But what they really want to do is indoctrinate the entire planet into Satanism. And they're doing it, as David Icke says, through the totalitarian tiptoe, an incremental process. You see, when I look at these 40, 50-year-old men with gold chains on, with the baggy jeans and that cap, dressing like little boys or wannabe rap stars, you're emulating an ideology of Satanism, meaning you are holding up values that are anti-life, that are not in accordance with truth. Not like I said, spiritual or moral. We're not even into that yet. We're just talking about basic moral values that have been eroded to indoctrinate you into Satanism. And what I mean by Satanism, you can say the 7 vices or the lust for materialism, lust for sex or perverted sex. You know what I mean? Lust for money, lust for power. That's Satanism. But we are not aware of what's going on because it's done incrementally. It's done slowly. But sure enough, this is the direction we're going. And then they label these things and define them to make them innocuous. So you'll say, well, rap music, hip hop, and wearing a dress while you're rapping, that's just being very liberal. And the mere fact that you don't like it means you're conservative. And no, it's satanic and evil. And it's in opposition to life-affirming principles. Let's stop putting these little labels to make it sound nice and digestible. But it's sick and perverted. And it's in our face, and we're so accustomed to it, so desensitized to it, that it doesn't bother us. We go about our daily lives, it doesn't bother us. When we tell women that obesity is not good, especially for a woman, you're fat shaming. Isn't gluttony part of the 7 deadly sins? You know, and obesity is indicative of something psychologically going on that we're not willing to address. If a rabbit suddenly decides that it wants to be a lion, roar, roar, I'm a lion, you would say that rabbit is nuts, right? But we have the right to declare who we want to be. We can switch genders and then ask the government to pay for the operation. I wonder if the government can give me money so that I can get skin bleaching so I can be white. Because I think I was born white. I define myself as white. Now, I'm not making fun of those people who want to transition and be something else. I'm not making fun of them. But what I'm trying to tell you is that you're not seeing the bigger picture and what's going on and where we're moving to. Everyone's talking about the New World Order. Well, it's happening right in front of you. Wake up. Look at it. It's here. In neon signs, in fact. They have fooled you using Sebek linguistics, Sebek terms and definitions to again make it seem like what they're doing is organic, ubiquitous, and innocuous. And you're falling for it. But the reason that you know, and we've seen this in the past year, that you are not going to come against it is because of fear. You know the reprisal. You know what will happen if you stand up and say something. And slowly but surely, the statistics confirm this. We are going insane, and there's a high rate of suicides. Why is that? Because people know there is something wrong and they can't live in this world anymore, given what's happening. The erosion of moral values, the erosion of what is right, the erosion of freedom of speech. The police shooting young black men is an indication to you that we are faced with a totalitarian fascist regime. You think it's just a problem with the police department. It's not. It goes higher. But we're afraid to look at it. You see, what I was watching the Animal Planet, Animal Channel, and I was looking at the lioness chasing all these gazelles or whatever the animals were, and there were more of these animals than the lioness. She was by herself, and the gazelles were like running around afraid. And you knew that if they just banded together, they could kill the lioness. And in fact, the lioness went after a bigger prey. She went after elephants, and the elephants did band together and almost stomped her to death. And I want you to understand the reason that we have not stood up against this system, because the system through social engineering has ensured that women, when they pick mates, pick very weak men. And that they raise these men to be soy boys, effeminate, emasculated. And when you are living in a westernized left brain society, you identify with the physical body, so you are afraid of physical harm, and you never come to the realization of our ancestors who said that we are consciousness. I was speaking with a woman. I astral projected last night, and I spoke with her spirit in her dream. And she asked me, very profound question she asked me. She said, "Qesankh, who am I?" And I said, "Your consciousness, don't you know?" And she was expecting me to say, "Oh, you're a beautiful woman, you're very smart, you're very intelligent," because she felt a little berated and low. And I said, "No, you are consciousness. You have no beginning, will have no end. You don't feel pain. You are all that there is. You're the Alpha and the Omega. You're the one who comes as the all, and the all who is the one." Do you not understand that? And if you had that thinking, because we're part of the herd, we're the sheeple, we would not be afraid. George Floyd would be alive today because those standing with their cell phones, who must be held accountable for what they did just as much as the police, who didn't intervene when they should have to save the $27 million that his family's going to get. Derek Chevron, what's his name? Chevron, going to jail does not bring back George Floyd. What would have had the man here today is a person who identified with the spirit consciousness and said, "I'm going to tackle Derek stop him from putting his knee on George Floyd. And what is the worst they could do? They can't do anything because I'm consciousness. I don't feel fear. I don't feel pain, although my physical body may. But who I am is at rest, at peace. Amen. And if that person would have done that, identified with the indwelling intelligence, Osir, and tackled Derek, making George Floyd still in existence today, that would have been the start of a revolution. That would have sent a clear message to the people and to the police that no, we're not dealing with this anymore. The people are going to stand up. But we identify with the physical body, and we were afraid. So we did the only thing that we can do is take out our cell phones and record it. But no, my beloved, that's not good enough. It is not good enough. And the reason why you are afraid is a knee-jerk reaction. It's a trigger effect. From seeing past police violence against innocent people, of understanding what the society will do to you, of seeing Rodney King on TV. So it triggers a response of stress in the body. And when the physical stress happens, then the mental anguish kicks in. There's a mental capacity or a state that comes along with that. You see, let me explain this. Let me try to kick this science to you. You will not conquer your fear through a motivational speech. You will not conquer your fear through a sermon. You will not conquer your fear through a self-help book. You will not conquer your fear by merely facing it. Oh, I'm afraid of snakes, so I should go around a place where there's snakes. No, you're traumatized yourself is what you're going to do. Our ancestors thought of a process of how to overcome fear and put it in the Kemetic spiritual system. And because we are dominated by people from Europe, left-brain thinkers who only think in oratory ways, they think that the solution to fear is the Freudian method of having you talk yourself to death to reach an epiphany, or motivational speech. But we of the Kemetian lineage know that our ancestors left us powerful mantras, powerful trance states that if we tune into it, can eliminate fear. Because we know the origin of the fear is a right brain activity, not a left brain activity. So the rulers of the planet are trying to rid themselves of fear, psychologists, by using the very same tool that created it. You learn to identify with the physical body, and that was the mistake. Instead of identifying who you truly are, which is consciousness. Then you were told you can die. Then you were told that no one happens with death. It's a frightening thing. You have spooks, you have ghosts, you have poltergeists. So of course you're afraid to die. Of course you're afraid of physical harm. They set you up to fail. But if I tell you from birth that you're consciousness and that you don't feel pain, and that you'll live forever, and that if you were to die, you would go to celestial heaven, be with the deities and the ancestors, and be reborn again. A lot less frightening, isn't that? Many people come to me and they say, well, I have this fear, I have that fear. How do I deal with that? And they're surprised by my answer because they think that it's all about the oratory skills. They think I'm going to tell them something that's going to make them click. And, ooh, no, I say, listen, let me sit down and get you a mantra. I need you to meditate. See yourself overcoming the fear in the meditation state while chanting the mantra. The mantra will stop feeding that energy of fear. It'll nullify it. Because everything is frequency. Everything is sound. When you're at fear, you're vibrating at a certain frequency, which brings up fear. And it's very hard for us to understand that. That's kind of too deep. And they're saying, well, you mean if I chant these words, which mean nothing, but have a vibrational frequency to them, they will nullify the fear? I go, yes. But see, your Western science doesn't tell you this. Also, your Western science doesn't tell you that there is subliminal tracks that you can put on the music, that while you're listening to the music, it's helping you to eliminate your fear. You see, the music that they have out there, let me give you a little secret. The rap music and other forms of music have subliminal tracks to make you fearful, to make you purchase more. And some of these rappers that you see, not the top rappers like Jay-Z, but some of the other rappers are agents. They're not like real people who made it a career out of rap. They were picked by the ruling elite to become rap stars. And they only have a career of 1 or 2 years. But they specifically go out there and find these young men and women and make them stars to be agents, to put forth new ideology, to put forth new ideas, like drugs, shooting each other. They're agents. In the same way, Cardi B and Nicki Minaj are agents. They're not just real people who suddenly got hits and became famous. They were picked and crafted and constructed in terms of their image and their brand by the ruling elite. Let me say it again. Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, Megan Thee Stallion were specifically indoctrinated to be public figures, rap stars, to manipulate and program you. They're not regular people who had regular lives. They were at one time, but they have been enlisted into the ruling elite's agenda. This is why they're being pushed. And come on, haven't you realized that Cardi B being interviewed by the Democratic candidate for president, Biden? Who hooks a rapper up like that? Who hooks somebody up like that? You've got to be inside to get that type of hookup. They're not interviewing Black economic specialists, real Black political leaders. They're interviewing Cardi B. Biden's interviewing Cardi B. That tells you she's an agent. That tells you she's been drafted into the elite satanic music industry. And will be given millions of dollars to play her role. And then when she's gone, they'll bring on another one, same as her. Same type of message. Empower women. Let me show my titties. Let me show my coochie. Empowering women. Women, you're empowered. Feminism. Same message is going to keep coming out. Because they want a society that's sexually perverse. These are not real people who had real aspirations, who worked hard to get to where they are. They're not. And you idiots out there who think that you're going to get you a rap career and be paid, you're dumb. Because you haven't researched the industry. You don't know what's going on. I knew in the film industry, I knew 20 years ago, and I'm still trying to figure out how people don't know it now, because I was in the industry. I said, they're talking about, I knew this 20 years ago. I said, they're talking about these women who are falling for the casting couch. Don't they know that the men are a part of the casting couch too? Don't they know that there's these men who require you, if you want to be a famous filmmaker actor, that you have to sleep with them? You have to give up the booty? I knew this 20 years ago, that there were men in the industry who had reached a certain level of fame and stardom who had to give up the booty. That's right, Mike. That is absolutely right. You're right on point. Not mentioning any names, and people come to me and say, oh, so-and-so's a billionaire. He has his own studio. Boy, he worked hard to get that. Selling tracks out of his car, and now look at him, a billionaire. I'm like, you buy that story? You actually buy that story? Listen, let me tell you something. I'm not going to say this again. I'm not going to repeat this again. When I was at the Cannes Film Festival, where they have you in a press room and a bunch of reporters come in and interview you. So I'm not going to mention names, but they came in and they were like, Qesankh, we need to get your story straight. I said, what do you mean story? How you started and how you got this movie financed. And they gave me a couple of outlines that they thought would work. And that was the story I would tell to the press. And it wasn't true. And I was like, whoa. It rocked my world, because now I knew, I said, a lot of these stories that you hear from Back to Riches are not true. They're concocted by journalists and mainstream media. Oh my God, I digress so much. I got to stop right now. I'm going off topic, okay? Anyway, the world is not what it appears. I want you to understand that. And if we are going on a very basic level, you see, in your life, you've created parameters, and they're parameters of comfort. And you don't ever venture out of those parameters because you feel comfortable. And if you do so, you'll be afraid. You'll get fear. Part of that is, well, if I'm working at my company, I'm doing well, I'm staying below the radar, and then your boss asks you to do a presentation, and now all of a sudden you're out your comfort zone. And you're like, a presentation? And you're scared. Fear grips you. You understand? The fear grips you. And then you say, well, I need to deal with this fear. I got to go to an Anthony Robbins seminar. I got to go see my pastor minister. I got to read a self-help book on how to overcome my fear and do a good presentation. That doesn't work, honey child. That don't work. That's not how it works. Many times the fear comes from childhood. nurturing. See, many parents are taught that, especially some fathers, that they must instill fear within their children, or they must punish their children with physical violence. And a lot of times your fear comes from that. See, it's not good enough that I give you the mantra and I put you in a trance hypnosis state to eradicate the fear. We've got to trace it back to its origins. And where does that fear come from? And it could come from a past life. My little girl, my goddaughter, I took her to, what's that toy store name? I forgot the name of the toy store in New York City. That they did the movie Big in with the piano. Anyway, I'm holding her and I'm taking her to the toy store. I'm going to buy her some toys. So I say, pick out what you want. And I sit her down and she's looking around, and I don't know if it was Snoopy or who it was, but it was, a guy in a costume. I think it was Snoopy. And he's running around playing with the other children, la, la, la. And he turns and looks at my goddaughter, and she freaks out. She turns and runs and jumps in my arms and is freaking out. So I look at her mother, and I'm like, it's okay. That's a past life thing. Something happened. Or she's revisiting that. She's in a trance state, revisiting that from a past life. So when you go through fear, you get into a trance state. This is why sometimes I'll throw water on a person's face or I'll slap them to get them out of that trance state. Because everything is about trance. You're always in a state, and the state is transferable. So, oh yeah, you're right. FAO Schwartz is the toy store. Thank you, King. Thank you. They don't have it anymore. Oh, a bit of information too about that. That was funny. That was the same day that I'm holding my goddaughter that I ran into Puffy. So I ran into Puffy. I think I told the story before. So I start talking to Puffy, and I happen to have a copy of my movie. I pulled it out and I said, Puffy, you got to check out my movie. He's like, okay, cool. It was super nice. It was really nice. So we talked for a short bit, and then we went into the toy store. So it was really good to run into him, since we're talking about rappers, you know what I mean? I wonder what he would have said if I pulled out my track and said, I want to be a rap star like you, Puffy. But I think I told you guys this, because when I talked to him, I didn't see him. I only saw when I went up to him, I only saw this side of his face. I didn't realize he was on his cell phone. I didn't see his cell phone there. So I'm talking to him, and he turns and looks at me, and I thought this guy's going to tell me off because he's on the phone. And he puts the phone down. He goes, oh, hey, how you doing? And he's like, treated me really nice. I'm like, man, I interrupted this guy on the phone, and he's treating me nice. He's like, yeah, I'm going to take a look at your film, man. No problem. Thanks. I'm like, cool. But anyway, going back to the example of my goddaughter and having the fear, which comes from a past life, because children can get fears like that, these not traumatic fears like that. And that's what you must deal with. Now, I'm going to share with you a big secret. This is going to be a bomb, an atom bomb, all right? You ready for this? No, you're not, because we have to take a commercial break. I love commercial breaks. I'll be right back.
Waters of None are the only waters that have been charged to help you with specific areas in your life. It was Dr. Amora that discovered that water not only has memory, but it can be charged and coded. With this science in mind, we have used ancient techniques to charge these waters using crystals, mantras, and binaural beats. So try it today. Go to watersofnone.com.
Great, and cut. Okay, we've already established that your fear is a vibration. Your fear is a state, and you have many states. You have a state of joy, happiness, sadness, all that. So when you get into the fear, it overtakes you because it's trance. And many people are reliving the fear, but not aware of it. In other words, a fear comes from a traumatic event that happened earlier in your life. You may not recall that earlier event because your subconscious mind is full of block, so that you won't remember it to protect you from going through the trauma again. But there still is the physiological response and the mental response, which is kind of like almost like a paralysis. And your frontal lobe is disabled, so you can't think logically. So when that fear grips you, you should chant your mantra. And I'm going to give you 2 mantras to eliminate fear. But unless you trace the fear back to its origin and deal with it, it's still going to have some power over you in your life. I do crazy stuff. I'm not afraid, you know. People be saying, Qesankh, how are you doing that? What do you know? I'll be like, shoot, I'll do it. Is it crazy? I'll do it. Because I've trained myself to turn that fear off and identify with the spirit. And I've also accepted the one fundamental truth, that everything is Maya, everything's an illusion, that everybody's just avatars that I create, so they're not real. So I'm not afraid of things that are not real. I'm not afraid of my own creations. We're going to get deep here. I'm going to show you a masterful trick, all right? If you trace that to its origin through hypnotherapy or deep hypnosis, you can eliminate that fear totally and get rid of it out of your life. But Western science is left brain segregative thinking, and it doesn't teach you that. It says go to Anthony Robbins' seminar. I'm not picking on Anthony Robbins. I like him, actually. But that's just a Band-Aid. So once you eliminate the origin of that fear, whether it be past life, earlier life trauma, you are free. This is what Scientology calls you're clear, because a fear is a conditioning. It's a pattern conditioning and way of operating. Scientology we call it conditioning an engram. NLP calls it a pattern. You don't want these things in your life. You understand what I'm saying? That already happened. It's called the Maharishi effect. It already happened in the Middle East. But see, they keep these things from you. They don't want you to understand the power of mantras, the power of chanting, the power of trance. They don't want these things out there. Rather, go to a Freudian doctor and just talk yourself to death. Now, I want you to understand something very, very important. This is why I have a technique called going dark, meaning not considering a negative outcome or not considering a worst case scenario. You see, you manifest fear in the 3D world. Things that occur to you in your life that you may label as bad luck come from your fears. You understand? And most times your fears manifest in ways that you can't identify them and can't, because the right brain doesn't make a one-to-one correlation. It doesn't do that. It does through abstraction. In other words, if I'm afraid of being fired, every time I come late to work, the elevator door is open and my boss walks by. It just happens through synchronicity that every exact day that I come late, the elevator door opens, my boss walks by. That's the abstract relationship. That's how that fear is manifesting of me being fired. You must learn to stop manifesting the fear. By subliminal tracks that help you to nullify the fear, or mantras. One of the most powerful mantras that can help eliminate fear is Ha, Ha, Qigong mantra. Excellent at nullifying fear. 15, 30 minutes of this, when you're feeling the fear, will help you. I'm not getting into breath work because there is some breath work associated with this, but let's just do the mantra. Harim, harim, harim. This is Haru's mantra. Horus, Haru. And by the way, just before I forget, if you want to understand the deities, the Egyptian deities, this is an excellent book by Richard Wilkinson, The Complete Gods and Goddesses of Ancient Egypt. And these are not just anthropomorphized figures. They represent energies, principles that operate in the universe. Our ancestors were master astronomers. They looked and decoded the stars and the elements in the universe to figure out how the universe works. And then they coded them as anthropomorphic figures and called them gods and goddesses or deities. So this is a really excellent book. I advise everybody to get this. Okay? So we have two mantras. 30 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes. I always do this. I promised my girl I would take her to dinner at a vegan restaurant, and I'm late, so I gotta wrap this up. She's gonna kill me. Now, the way you do this is you start with Om. You can OMG or AUNG. That's the word that first created the universe and everything that there is. That's the first word that God uttered to create everything. Om Ha, Om Ha, Om Harim, Om Harim, Om Harim. You chant this by itself, or the best scenario is you go into a state of meditation, visualize yourself succeeding and overcoming the fear while chanting this. And what this is going to do is deplete the fear of energy, because you're pumping energy into the idea of that fear, the image of the fear. And this is going to slowly, like vampires, suck the life out of that fear. Now, I've put a link at the bottom here to one of the best subliminal tracks I have ever worked with to destroy fear. It's called No Fear Zone. You listen to it for 30 minutes, I guarantee you, you'll feel calm and cool. It's called No Fear Zone, and it's subliminal messages that you can barely hear and recognize, but they work perfectly. I remember at work, before I did the presentation, I would always listen to it, and I was always calm. And I was like, oh, whew. One time, HR called me, and I said, oh my God, what's up now? I had to listen to it, so I had to calm myself down. I'm calm. So it's really good for that. So you can check that out. I really advise you use that. Either one of these three will work well. The perfect scenario is work with a hypnotherapist who will take you deep into trance to find the origin of the fear, where it comes from, and eliminate it. Now, we're going to get into some deep stuff here. All right? I just told you your fear manifests. You know that because you are a reality generating machine. You can't help it. You generate reality. Your fears become part of this 3D experience, third density experience. But now, if you're an alchemist and you're good at it, you can manipulate the fear. And I happen to be an alchemist. So let me tell you what I do. Because I know my fears manifest, because I'm very right brain. I'm a Pisces, I'm emotional. So my fears manifest quick. I mean, quick. My fear will pop up right at me and say, hey, here I am. I know 2 minutes ago I was in your brain, but here I am now in the real world. Why wasn't that fast? I'm going to cause you problems now. My name is Mr. Fear. So that's how quick my stuff is, right? I'm going to give you something that you're going to love me for. You're going to say, Qesankh, you the man. Whenever that fear comes up in my mind, I replace it with a different fear. I say to myself, let's say I'm afraid of doing the presentation. It really bothers me. I transmute that. That's an alchemical term. I transmute that into this. Damn, I'm so afraid to be raped by 5 beautiful women. I'm so afraid to go on a date with a beautiful woman. I'm so afraid of finding or hitting the lottery for $5,000. And I transmute that fear into something like that. Man, I'm so afraid of getting that letter saying that I've been accepted into the program. If you can do this correctly, the energy is diverted from your fear to your desire and your want. You have to do it correctly, though. It takes a good alchemist to do that. Man, I'm so afraid to get into a relationship with a smart, intelligent, and beautiful woman. I'm so afraid of meeting Mr. Right. I'm so afraid of meeting a man who's tall and handsome and six-pack and who will treat me like a lady. If you do it right, you'll see it manifest in your life. This is what we do as magicians. This is what you should naturally be able to do. Manipulate the forces of nature, Netalu, to align with your wishes as God man, God woman. If you like this message today, please donate to the channel. YouTube still has demonetized us for over a year now. Don't know why they've done it. I guess because I'm speaking truth to power, but they have. I have petitioned them to get back to monetization because there's no reason they should have taken that away from us in the first place. So please remember to donate to the channel. If you are interested in making a 6-figure salary, check out my program, The 6-Figure Lifestyle. The early bird special ends this Saturday. Sorry, false evidence. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Thank you. Thank you, Dua. A very wise man told me something, and you may recognize this, because I have a military background, and it's tough to confront your fear when you're told to march straight toward the enemy and they're shooting bullets. And he told me, he said, Qesankh, you can't alpha your way out of this. I don't care how alpha you think you are. The strongest men have given in to fear. He said, but there is a different type of strength that you must tap into. He says, all these people from this world, these Europeans, as he called them, don't know what the African Maasai warriors knew. I said, what is that? That there is an inner strength that can overcome any fear. He says, if you tap into that inner strength, that inner chi, the inner kundalini, you can do anything. And that's what Bruce Lee was trying to do with his punch. That's what Bruce Lee was trying to do. Tap into that inner chi, that inner strength. Those Maasai warriors be hunting lions without rifles, without guns. Just what we would call primitive weapons. But they have no fear. They have no fear. This is Qesankh Ma Keperu, son of Ma and Tahuti. My aunt is a beautiful goddess Heteru. Until my next video, Amen Ra.